Alright guys, as promised, the Midwest Swing Podcast and simulcast on Periscope coming at you on a Tuesday night from my home in the outer burbs of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I'm your host Brandon Warren, and I'm here to chat with you about Minnesota Twins baseball tonight. We can talk about the 6-4 win over the Chicago White Sox. Jorge Polanco homering from each side of the plate for the 5th time in Twins history, first time in his big league career. We can talk about postseason stuff. We can talk about waiver trade deadline stuff. We can talk about whatever you want, and we'll hang out for a little while here. Check us out also on Midwest Swing as far as the podcast, zonecoverage.com, YouTube under Cold Omaha. You can find old copies of these videos, which I upload off Periscope. And yeah, so we'll just kind of roll with it. We'll see what people have to say. Again, a reminder, if you are checking us out and you want to participate in the discussion, please send me tweets at Brandon_Warren. I have the screen behind the phone that's recording me so I can see your tweets right here. You can, of course, leave comments in the chat, but I can't promise that I'm going to see them and answer them in a timely fashion. So if you would like for me to answer your question, and I suspect that that's the case if you're going to ask one, please send it to me at Brandon_Warren on Twitter. If you are not following me on Twitter, please do that at Brandon_WARNE. Make sure to follow Zone Coverage MN and at Midwest Swing Pod. Do have a fun podcast that I'll be posting sometime tonight, talking to Brian Dozier and Joe Mauer about the Ron Gardenhire effect. Obviously, I'm aware that Ron Gardenhire was here last weekend rather, but I did not have enough time to get that posted while the Diamondbacks were in town. So, still very interesting stuff about what Joe Mauer and Brian Dozier had to say about their time with Ron Gardenhire. So I think it's still going to be worth a listen, even if it isn't the most timely of stuff. All right. So with that said, please feel free to send questions about tonight's game, tonight's starting pitchers. Jorge Polanco again, good offensive game. Polanco was the only twin with multiple hits. Again, both of them left the park. One from each side of the plate, from the left side and right. Left side early on in the game off James Shields, later in the game off of Aaron Bummer. And so very, very good offensive effort again. Jorge Polanco, if you were to listen to what Twitter fans wanted just a couple months ago or even just a month ago, I think it's fair to say that they would have wanted him designated for assignment or put on the disabled list with a phantom injury. So have to give credit where credit is due. Polanco, I believe, 6 home runs in his last 9 games. Good point, too, made by Zane Axman, the breakouts of not only Polanco lately, but Byron Buxton, just named AL Player of the Week. 3 home run game in the last game on Sunday against Toronto. And yeah, Buxton had an RBI single to get things rolling in this game as well. He's just looked absolutely fantastic at the plate. Just looks dialed in, even when he's not making contact as much, even foul balls and stuff. He's staying on, breaking balls away, and just looking much more comfortable at the plate, which is kind of amazing when you consider that he is still seeing those breaking balls away that he was flailing at early in the season. I see a question from Mitch. Any concern about the amount of Hildenberger's use? I wish they trusted Curtis more. Again, guys, please send me these to Twitter so that I can see them. As far as Hildenberger's workload, yes, I am concerned. I believe that is 6 of the last 7 games he's worked over the span of 8 days. Yes, that is, in my opinion, too much of a workload for a young pitcher like that. And especially a young pitcher who's not going to tell the manager that he doesn't want to be out there, because he has more to gain from saying he's available than he can afford to lose by saying he's not available. That's kind of the difficult thing that young players have to deal with, is that they're still earning their stripes. If Joe Mauer says he's not available, he's not going to lose his starting spot. Matt Belisle less likely to move his spot, or lose his spot, as closer. When these young players come up, they kind of have to take whatever's thrown at them. And I did actually talk to Hildenberger today about what his goals are and what he would like to see in the future. Now, obviously, if you're a shortstop, your future goal is to be an all-star. When you're a pitcher, you want to be an ace as far as a starting pitcher. With relievers, it's a little bit murky. Do they want to be closers? Do they want to be long, guys that put out fires in the 7th, 8th inning? And what Hildenberger said was, it's not necessarily that he wants to be a closer in the future, but rather just someone who can be trusted in big spots, night in and night out. So, in just 2 months or whatever it is that he's been in the big leagues, I think it's fair to say he's already reached that point where he's like the new Taylor Rogers as far as the level of trust that Paul Molitor is showing in him. So I think he's got to be happy with where he's at in the sense that he's that far up the hierarchy of the bullpen. Now, with that said, is he going to get burnt out, and is there significant risk moving forward about not trusting some of those innings to John Curtis, who obviously had that tough inning in Toronto, which was obviously also aided by poor defense by, I believe, Kenny Vargas. So, yeah, it would be nice to see Alan Buznitz get some of these innings. It would be nice to see Tyler Duffy get some of these innings. And there are, some other pitchers that probably deserve more of a chance. Ryan Presley's ERA, last I checked, under 5, which again is not the greatest litmus test, but is trending in the right direction at least. So, yeah, I hope they don't run Hildenberger into the ground, because wherever they're going between now and October, whether it's a wild card game or even into the postseason in a series, they're going to need Hildenberger to help them win games moving forward. All right, let's go to the questions. Colin Nelson, do I think the Twins are going to make a waiver deal on or before Thursday? I think that if they don't make a deal, it won't be for lack of effort. I do know that Thad Levine was saying out at the State Fair, I believe yesterday on KFan, that they are, or actually we might have been talking to Doogie Wolfson, they are very, very active on the market as far as making claims and trying to make things happen. Probably even blocking some teams too, considering where the Twins are in the race. Blocking players to, National League players from getting to teams like the Yankees or anybody above them in the standings. So, yeah, I can't say for sure that they will or won't make a move. I think you could still justifiably add a reliever, add a starter if there is one out there that you like. Tough break on Scott Feldman being out for the year. Marco Estrada not going to get put through waivers again because he can't be pulled back again. So you would have to find a starter that's, I don't know. It's somebody that's going to have to give you value with how good Kyle Gibson's looked lately. And I talked to him a little while today. He gave me some good information about where he's standing on the rubber. If you can find a starter who's definitely going to improve your rotation and be, a number 3 starter moving into the postseason, and maybe move Bartolo Colon further down the pecking order, move Kyle Gibson to your number 5 starter, you absolutely have to consider making that move. With that said, I'm not sure that kind of player gets put on waivers, clears waivers, or gets even to the Twins on waivers, depending on which league that player's coming from. So I don't know how active they'll be. I saw Nori Aoki was cut by the Toronto Blue Jays, designated for assignment yesterday or the day before, released outright today. Aoki is not a power hitter, but good contact, can hit lefties. In his career, virtually identical platoon splits. Again, not that they need outfield help, but if they still want to shield Max Kepler in the month of September, or I was thinking ahead, if they play the wild card game and it's against CC Sabathia, let's just say that's how the Yankees line up, is CC Sabathia, Jordan Montgomery, you're going to want to have an offense that is tailored to face a left-handed starter. Right now, Eddie Rosario is about the only left-handed hitter that the Twins have who is really capable of hitting left-handed pitching and hitting, number 4, number 3 in the order, depending on where Miguel Sano is health-wise. And, of course, by then we expect him to be back. But I do think Nori Aoki, from a free agent standpoint, get him in here and add him to the 40-man roster. That's, to me, a very good move. I don't think you necessarily have to activate him before September 1st, but you do need him on the 40-man roster to be playoff eligible. Again, you want him to be playoff eligible because that's what you're playing for. So I'm not saying they're going to sign Nori Aoki, but I think that would be a really smart move. Martin Schlegel wants to know, Molitor, manager of the future. I'm not sold that he stays after this year. Honestly, I don't know if anybody knows the answer of if Paul Molitor is here for the long haul. I think he would like to be, as much as you can put stock in what he has to say about his future. It's a good job in the sense that it's a secure job. You're working for a team on the upswing. The new brass seems to be very, very with it in terms of analytics, in terms of scouting, in terms of what each of those sides of the game brings to the table. With that said, part of me wonders if they took this job knowing that they would give him a year to see what he could do, but the chance that they would probably want to replace him with one of their own guys, whether it's somebody with a Texas footprint like Ron Washington or whoever, I'm just throwing out names, or the name that I keep coming back to from Cleveland, Sandy Alomar Jr., first base coach. Do you keep going with names that have ties to these guys? Do you look at someone like Jeff Pickler? Do you look at someone internal like Jake Mauer, Doug Minkiewicz? I suspect if they go away from Molitor, they'll cast a wide net. They've done a nice job of poaching talent from organizations that you want to get coaching talent from. Pickler coming from the Dodgers system. The Dodgers do pretty much everything perfectly as far as player development. I mean, look at not only the fact that they have such a great big league team, which you can attribute to finances, but if you look at the players they've developed, whether it's a Cody Bellinger or a Corey Seager or even Jose De Leon, who they traded for Logan Forsythe. Again, De Leon has not had a great season in the Rays system, but De Leon became a very, very nice prospect, just like a 20th round pick. So to get Pickler out of that system is big. To get James Rowson, whose fingerprints are all over Cubs hitters, Starlin Castro now with the Yankees, worked with him both in the big leagues and in the minors. Aaron Judge says great things about James Rowson. He worked with Greg Bird. He worked with basically any Yankees hitter, Gary Sanchez, any of these young Yankee hitters that you see succeeding today have James Rowson's fingerprints all over them. And so I think that to poach those two talents was absolutely fantastic. And I think you'll see them take another talent from a team or continue to take talent from teams that have emulatable mantras or emulatable processes, that kind of thing, which is it's a good thing to do. I see Twins fan 44, Walker Buehler, Willie Calhoun, Alvarez. The list goes on, and in fact, that's why I thought, again, and I've said this many, many times, I thought they lined up really perfectly for a Brian Dozier deal because they're going to reach a point where their 40-man roster will just be too crowded. They will have 45 players deserving of 40 spots in terms of prospects and big league players and everything. So you clear some of that off. You get a big asset in return. In that case, it would have been Brian Dozier. I just thought that they matched up very well, and the Twins could go get someone like Brock Stewart, Trace Thompson, in addition to maybe a prospect like Gavin Lux or Walker Buehler or Imani Abdullah. Anybody that you like in that system further down to help them clear that logjam. And I just thought that was why, a perfect match. Instead, they go the one for one, and I'm actually looking at Twitter now. Dustin Nosler, a guy who I've had on my podcast, it's not looking like people out there are big fans of Logan Forsythe. So I think as much as things have gone right for this Dodgers team, came into today with 91 wins, which is just unthinkable. There'll be at least two playoff teams, one of the wild cards from each side that don't win that many games all year. We're not even to September yet. That's how good the Dodgers have been this year, and they still have problems. I mean, they're not serious problems. They went and traded for Yu Darvish. They are going to have Clayton Kershaw, Alex Wood, Rich Hill, Yu Darvish. Any three of those guys in a postseason rotation is going to win you ball games in October. So I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I don't think it's going to be... I think Darvish was the perfect insurance. Plus, you get a right-handed arm in there in terms of Wood is a lefty, Hill is a lefty, and obviously Kershaw is a lefty. And so, yeah, I thought that was a perfect match for the Twins and Dodgers to make that trade. I'm still surprised it didn't happen. Speaking of the managerial thing that people have been asking about, my brother, Cody Warren, CodyWarren.wordpress.com, wrote a blog tonight where you can check out his thoughts on the future manager and take a look at that. So it's Cody, WARNE.wordpress.com. Please check that out. He's trying to get into blogging. Give him some encouragement. I'm going to try to edit his stuff, and hopefully he can become a really good writer, which is cool because everybody deserves the chance to try this out. Let's see, what else do we got for questions, people? I got nothing on the screen right now. We can talk about Matt Belisle, who's been just terrific. I'm working on a feature, so if you guys are interested, I asked every Twins pitcher who has a big league save that has pitched a ninth inning, so not a multi-inning save like Dylan G or Tyler Duffy or anything like that. I talked to the four guys, and I asked them about what it's like to throw the ninth inning. and if there's a difference. And I think you guys are going to be fascinated. I talked to Glenn Perkins, Trevor Hildenberger, Ryan Presley, and Matt Belisle. Belisle has been very, very good. I know he gave up a run tonight, but he's been great. Especially since I think it was middle of June when the San Francisco series. He's been phenomenal, and so he was kind of the detractor about whether or not the ninth inning is different for guys. So 4 very different answers from 4 very different pitchers. I think you guys are going to like that a lot. Reminder, if you have questions, send them to me on Twitter at Brandon_Warren. On Periscope, these questions disappear in about 3 to 5 seconds. Odds are I don't even see them. And the issue there is that if I've got a train of thought going, I'm trying to avoid reading it and messing up my train of thought to the point where I give you guys poor answers while I'm trying to read another question where I can give a poor answer for that, so on and so forth. I see Joe asking, will the Rangers trade Rougned Odor? Seems expendable with Willie Calhoun. No, I don't think so. I think Calhoun's a future DH. Calhoun could also play first or third probably, but I don't think people believe in Willie Calhoun, the future second baseman. I just don't think they do. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with Jurickson Profar coming out of there. Not because he has value, and in fact, Dave Cameron of Fangraphs, my boss at Fangraphs, says there's no value in Profar. I want to see him get out of Texas. I'm not saying it has to be Minnesota. Minnesota would be fine. I think that it would be good to get their hands on him when the value is low. But I want to see him get out of Texas. I think that's going to be the play this offseason. I still think Odor, as much of a flawed player as he is, still super young. He might even be younger than Willie Calhoun for all I know. Probably not, but he's still extremely young for how long he's been on the radar. So I do hope, I saw someone suggest Tampa Bay for Profar. Yes, absolutely. I would like to see that for sure, especially now that they've traded Tim Beckham. And oh boy, that deal's, I don't think that deal's going to come back to really be great for them. So we'll see. I see Matt Liefeld, when Mejia comes back, will Gibson lose his starting spot? Mejia is starting tomorrow in Rochester. I know Hector Santiago started tonight. Mejia tomorrow. I would say that Dylan G would lose his starting spot before Kyle Gibson. Gibson, 15 strikeouts over his last 2 starts. Has been working on some stuff as far as foot placement on the pitching rubber and a few other things. The breaking ball has looked really good. He just looks like a different pitcher right now, and I think you have to ride that out. Sorry, Oscar's chewing on some plastic down here. I think you have to ride that out, that hot streak with Kyle Gibson, to see what he's capable of with his remanufactured placement on the pitcher rubber and all that. Sorry, I got a lousy cat here that's being stupid. So yeah, I think Mejia could claim Dylan G's spot. I also think they could go, maybe a 6-man rotation. I really don't think that's going to happen. But I also think they could just put Mejia in the pen if they really didn't want to displace anybody. With that said, I don't think Dylan G is ironclad. And you can put G out in the bullpen in September when it's kind of a free-for-all out there, when you have 14 relievers or whatever the heck it's going to be, when pretty much all the 40-man guys will be either sent home or promoted. So we'll see what happens. Shea McGinnity wants to know what 40-man roster expansion player will play the biggest role in the September run. Oh, that's a good question. I wrote about that for zone coverage last week, in that I was just kind of forecasting who's going to be up. The Mitch Garvers of the world, the Zach Grants of the world, the Nick Turleys. Again, I know I love Nick Turley, but the guys who will be up that will play the biggest roles, it might be a Buddy Boshears getting lefties out late in games. Again, if you look at the splits, Buddy Boshears, if you allow him to just face lefties, perfectly competent lefty one-out guy. I see Joe suggesting Aaron Slegers. Yes, you could give Aaron Slegers another look in the rotation, again, at the expense of Dylan G. I'm not saying that I think Slegers is ironclad. Again, his start was good, but it wasn't overwhelmingly so. So I don't know that Slegers is guaranteed to come back up, make a bunch of starts, and obviously set the world on fire. We'll see what happens there, but I do think there's a very good chance that he could get another look in the rotation. But yeah, I think it's more likely relievers. Mitch Garver might steal some playing time against lefties, but they really like Chris Jimenez in that spot. Don't sleep on Zach Grant either. Late innings, if they start Robbie Grossman in the outfield, or They have Max Kepler. They pinch run and all that. I don't sleep on Granite going out there for defense, especially if they move some pieces around. So, also as a pinch runner, can be very helpful. I did see too. Gabriel Moya suggested. I saw Jake Depew of 1500 ESPN suggest that on Twitter tonight as well. I think it's possible that Gabriel Moya, I think it's 0.82 ERA both in Jackson and now in Chattanooga. More than a strikeout per inning by a long stretch, no walks. I see Jake Reed being suggested as well. I think it's possible they could add another reliever, but they do have to be cautious with their 40-man roster because it's going to get crowded. Not because they have so many great players, but because you're going to have certain players you want to protect, certain players you want to shield, so on and so forth. So I don't know how much they're going to add in the sense that they're going to be aggressive with younger guys. It's possible Moya has to be added in the offseason anyway, and in that case, you may as well give him a shot. I also did see Doogie Wolfson, 1500 ESPN and Channel 5 News suggest that Steven Gonsalves is in the mix to start on Friday. That also would require, of course, a 40-man roster move. So don't sleep on the potential for Gonsalves to be a September call-up. Again, they're saying they're prioritizing the big leagues at this point. I know a lot of these teams are in postseason runs, Rochester, Chattanooga, all these teams are having great seasons, but they're going to prioritize the big leagues more than anything else. Matt Leifeld wants to know, are you surprised at how decent Bartolo Colon has been for the Twins since his DFA from the Braves? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can't be. At 44, when a guy starts struggling as badly as he did, and obviously coming out of the gates, Colon was just awful with the Braves. It's been amazing to see how I don't want to say reinvented himself because he's still who he is. He's still doing what he does. Don't get me wrong. But just to see the guy basically be slavish to his path or his routine of 88-mile-per-hour fastballs. You can dial it up as high as 90, 91, 92. But to, just pinpoint placement, you give up some home runs if you're up 6-2, 6-1. This is a guy that knows how to pitch. Again, if you think that, or imagine how good a pitcher with Colon's smarts and know-how would be at the age of 24, 25. It would be unthinkable to be that good plus that physically gifted. Fields his position well for his size. He, as much as people like to laugh at his size, big deal. I mean, he does everything you expect from a pitcher, and so I don't know. I've been very, very, very impressed with the shot in the arm that he's given the Twins. Shea McGinnity says, do you think the Twins should consider signing Colon to a 1-year deal this offseason? I don't know. I really don't. At 44, you're going into free agency with an open mind. If you want to add a pitcher, I don't think Colon is atop that list. You get like Trevor Cahill, you got Lance Lynn, you've got guys a lot higher up on your list. I think you say to Bartolo, look, take your time to make a decision. We'll be here ready to listen. But let's be realistic. We're not going to get in your way if someone else offers you a bunch of money or better location. I don't know. As much as this Colon run has been fun, I don't think you want to be there when he has another run like he did with the Braves. So I think you just say, look, this was fun. We're going the other direction. And so, yeah. I did see someone ask, what about Luis Severino for the wild card game? Yeah, Severino's great. I think there's significant blow-up potential for any young starter to make that start. I did the math. It looks like Jose Barrios is lined up to make that start for the Twins. Barrios-Severino would be a phenomenal young pitcher matchup with blow-up potential. Both guys have that potential, of course. But I think Severino is like third in Fangraph's WAR as far as AL starters. And so, yeah, I mean, you can make compelling cases for even Masahiro Tanaka, who's been better lately, big game CC Sabathia. You can make a case for just about any of them. I was talking to Casey Stern from SiriusXM today. I think Sabathia is the guy, and I'll tell you why. Because the Twins' offense has not hit lefties well this year. So I think if you go with CC Sabathia, you have a very good chance to beat the Twins at Yankee Stadium. So I don't know. I think you can make a compelling case for any of those guys. I think Severino is right there, though. Jimmy Dosen says, do you see the Twins' offseason plans changing at all due to their surprising run this season? Maybe try spend on a starter. I don't think they'll change that much because I still think they view sustainable winning as the goal. I think they just opened the window sooner than they expected, but they didn't open it, like, it's not a false opening like 2015 was. This is legit. This is young players coming into their own and becoming a unit. You have to supplement that while those guys are young. Well, Sano and Buxton and Polanco and Rosario and Kepler and Barrios are all pre-arbitration years. You need to go out and spend to get a starter. Now, the tough thing is, unless it's you, Darvish, and I don't see them spending $200 million, I don't see them being in the Shohei Ohtani market, then where do you go from there? Is it a Trevor Cahill? Is it a Lance Lynn? And Trevor Cahill's been the guy who I've championed quite a bit. Strikeouts are way through the roof. He just needs a good defense to pitch in front of. Tons of grounders. I think that might be the guy. Ulysses Chacin is interesting. There's a bunch of pitchers. Alex Cobb is interesting. All these guys right around the age of 30 who are super, super, super interesting. So I think they should settle on one of these guys and go get them and, go get your guys, as my guy Luke Inman likes to say. So any of those guys that are, around the age of 30, I think are going to be the ones that you want to go out and get. I see Jara saying, I like Carlos Santana a lot. Is 4 years, $60 million going to be enough? Yeah, I think that's a legitimate question. I did see Indians fans talking to me about it being 3 years, $40 million. I'd rather sign a 3-year deal with the team option if it's up to me, and I would go as high as 360. 3 years, $60 million with a team option in the last year. Because a hitter like that might age well in the sense that, on-base percentage guys can age well. Again, John Miller saying go after J.D. Martinez. I think you need a bat. I like Santana more, even though I know he's going to get the qualifying offer and give up, I think it's a third-round pick the Twins would end up giving up. I like Santana because he gives your lineup more depth and balance, You lead him off, you move Dozier down to number 3 or wherever you like him. But Santana, Mauer, you can have Grossman in that mix when he's in the lineup too. Santana doesn't have platoon splits, and Martinez mashes lefties. You need to address the ability to hit lefties in this lineup. So one way or the other, I think you have to go with Carlos Santana. I don't think 4 and 60 is going to be enough, but maybe it's close. But I would do 3 and 60 with a team option for year 4. I really don't know about 4 years, but if it's what it takes, it's what it takes. So, yeah, some kind of hitter who can give this lineup more balance. Because think about this. Sano and J.D. Martinez in the middle of a lineup would be unbelievable. Can you get J.D. Martinez to DH? Probably not. Then you might need to find, maybe you can trade for Nelson Cruz. I don't know. Finding a permanent DH, a stud DH, can really give this offense some more balance. Again, it's a very good offense right now, at least when they're rolling. I think, though, as much as people will want to go and get another pitcher, and I think you have to do that, I do think that adding another hitter is a way to get value. And look at the trade market this offseason for hitters. Again, Martinez didn't bring that much, pending free agent, all that stuff. But if you can find an undervalued bat, a masher, that's what you need to go for. I do see Nader asking, if Sano is limited to DH only, could the Twins go get a right-handed third baseman before the deadline? I don't know. But I did hear that Nicholas Castellanos has cleared waivers. I would be all over that. Castellanos, even as a first baseman in the future, take a chance. It's depending on the price, of course, but he's only in his age 25 season. 750 OPS is not going to make you go crazy, but he's an exit velocity guy. He hits the crap out of the ball. Still young. Get him out of Detroit. I don't know. I just think that Castellanos is a guy I would take a chance on. So yeah, I don't know. I'm running out of gas, guys. I've been going hard for about a half hour. Holy smokes. That's all I got. Let's meet again and do this tomorrow. How does that sound? I'll play a little softball tomorrow night, then we'll hang out and do this again. Thanks for joining me, guys. The Midwest Swing Podcast on the Zone Coverage Podcast Network. Peace.